A muggy afternoon is giving way to a somehow even muggier evening here in the Bayou City. Coming up on CSN, it's a Week 12 National Women's Soccer League showdown between the Houston Dash and Washington Spirit. Welcome into BBVA Compass Stadium. I'm Sebastian Salazar, joined by Jen Cooper. Jen, we expect a great game today. We expect an attack-minded game. We expect a close matchup. And we expect a game with some urgency. Both these teams on the outside of the playoff picture right now, but with real aspirations of making the postseason.
Washington Spirit, 3-game losing streak. They've allowed 10 goals in those 3 games. They were as high as 3rd place earlier this season, and that's the highest they've ever been in the standings. We know they want to get back up there and secure a place in the playoffs. Houston Dash, before the loss 2 weeks ago here versus Kansas City, they had a 3-game winning streak, really making a dent in the standings, kind of climbing up. We know Randy Waldrum wants to regain that momentum after a 2-week break.
Last game for the Dash was on June 14th, the last time that these two met in late May, just outside the nation's capital. And Jen, it was a spectacular affair, back and forth from both sides. The Spirit getting off on the right foot. Diana Matheson with a goal here to put the home side up 1-0, but then back came the Dash. Nina Berger opening her NWSL account.
Hard-fought goal, hard-fought game, especially on just a couple days rest. Both times the team coming back to equalize. Randy really mixing up the lineup to get some players rest.
Jodie Taylor with a goal here in the 38th minute. That put the Spirit up. And then set pieces, which had been a weakness for the Dash, come through here on the corner kick. Osinachi Ohale with the snap header. And in the 77th minute, we were equal. Looked like the Dash were going to get a valuable point on the road. Wow. How about that for a finish? Christine Nairn with a laser at the death.
Nothing McLeod can do about that, and really frustrating for the Dash after she had just saved a PK 2 minutes before.
Since then, Washington 2-3, the Dash 3-1. We'll be back in just a moment with the starting lineups and kickoff from here, BBVA Compass Stadium. Don't go anywhere. NWSL soccer coming your way here on CSN.
As a BBVA Compass customer, you have the chance to show your true colors every time you open your wallet.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Presenting Dynamo Banking, featuring debit and credit card options that can help you reach your goals. Open your account today at any of our 80 locations in Houston or online at bbvacompass.com/dynamo. Team works in soccer and in banking.
A device that reads brainwaves to help the paralyzed walk again. A tiny isotope that detects Alzheimer's before any symptoms occur. A procedure that repairs heart valves without opening the chest. A better tomorrow made possible today. That's the difference between practicing medicine and leading it. Houston Methodist, leading medicine.
Before and after every game, watch Dynamo pre- and post-game live, only on Comcast Sportsnet.
Learn soccer the Dynamo way and start your path to the pros. The Houston Dynamo offer youth programs for every age and skill level, from a challenging introduction to soccer to intensive competition training and opportunities to play for the Dynamo Academy.
This is Ricardo Clark of the Houston Dynamo. The Dynamo youth programs offer the professional environment required to develop your game and prepare you for success.
To find out more or to register for Dynamo youth programs, visit HoustonDynamo.com.
Welcome back to BBVA Compass Stadium. Sebastian Salazar and Jen Cooper with you here on CSN for the call of this NWSL Week 12 matchup between the Houston Dash and Washington Spirit. Washington coming into this one 5th place, sitting on 19 points. The Dash 8th place on just 13 points. The Houston hasn't played in 2 weeks. Jen, let's get into some of the key players in this match. We'll start with the visitors. Our player to watch for the Spirit, goalkeeper Ashlyn Harris, a decorated career with the U.S. youth national teams and now really starting to get some run with the senior squad.
Right, she got her 3rd cap last week against France in that 2-2 draw, and as you see in this highlight, she saved the winning penalty kick in the WPS Final 2011 to give the title to Western New York Flash. Stellar play for Spirit has kept them in a lot of games, and we know Jillian Ellis says she's one of the 5 she's considering for next year in Canada. One of the many players on both sides of this game who played their college ball at the University of North Carolina. For the Dash, our player to watch, Jen, is a player that we've been waiting for a long time to watch. Perhaps nobody has been waiting more than Randy Waldrum. Whitney Engen, finally with the team here at home, and she is going to be a big part of this Dash defense. She was our first U.S. national team allocation. It's been a long wait. She was part of the game in Western New York on May 31st. That was the beginning of that win streak for the Dash, and here we're seeing her golazo for Taroso in Champions League play last fall, assisted by none other than Megan Klingenberg, who unfortunately, due to hamstring injury, they're playing it safe and keeping her off the field tonight. Talked to Randy Waldrum yesterday. He told me Whitney Engen was, quote, the real deal. Glad to finally see her here at home tonight. Your starting lineup for Washington under head coach Mark Parsons. The aforementioned Ashlyn Harris in goal. Robin Gale, Ali Krieger, Nikki Cross, Alex Singer, Tori Huster. In defense, in midfield, Lori Lindsay, Diana Matheson, and Yael Averbush. And up top, Jody Taylor and Lisa Devana. For the Dash, under head coach Randy Waldrum, Aaron McLeod, Ari Romero, Whitney Engen, Osinachi Ohale, and Stephanie Oakes. Your back 4. They operate out of a 4-3-3 in midfield. Kaylin Kyle teams with Becky Edwards right in front of that. Back 4, slightly in front of them, Ella Masser. And then up top, Kaylee Ohai and Tiffany McCarty on the wings, with Nina Berger, the Austrian international, at the top of the Dash forward line. Jen, as we mentioned, first game for Houston in 14 days. First competitive match, though. They did get a game in last weekend up in Dallas. Yeah, it was an interesting father versus son match. Randy Waldrum's Houston Dash taking on Ben Waldrum's FC Dallas U23 team. They actually had more than 2,000 people show up at Rufino Stadium outside of Dallas for that match. Dash winning handily 8-1. We had talked to Randy about, why schedule that match, and he said, well, I saw the gap in the schedule. I wanted to keep the momentum going, give some of the younger players time. Of course, with the way injuries and call-ups have gone this season, it's the younger players who've been starting. But I think that really helped the team keep some rhythm, finding back of the net that many times. Also seeing Henninger and reserve keeper Meg Kinnaman get some time. Alex Singer jumping into the attack here for the visitors. She pushes it in the box. Osinachi Ohale sweeps it away, but only as far as Diana Matheson. Matheson on the ball. Puts it in behind the Dash defense. No offside flag, but Aaron McLeod right there to scoop it up and prevent further damage. And of course, I also want to mention probably the bigger reason that Randy scheduled that match. He was inducted into the Irving ISD Athletic Hall of Fame. He's the class of 14. He's from Irving, and he coached there, and I'm really proud that he got honored that way, especially with the crowd of 2,000 plus. How neat to do it there, competing against his son, although Ben Waldrum was also helping the Dash a little bit over the last couple weeks, serving in an assistant coach capacity under his father. I think that's a sneaky way to scout the team you're about to play. say, yeah, Dad, I'll be your assistant coach. McLeod will pump it forward here. The Dash, after a slow start, really believe they can make some noise here in the second half of the NWSL season.
Berger's speculative effort will trickle wide for a throw-in.
Well, you mentioned in the opening that Washington had given up 10 goals in the last 3 games, but 6 of those are from one game. And you can kind of put an asterisk by that one. It was a pretty tough match against Portland that they held them to a certain point, and then the dam broke and you had a slew of goals at the end. I don't think it's really indicative of their overall play. And they've made so many changes to their lineup in the last few weeks, bringing in some new players.
Oaks with a long throw in here. Can't quite get it past the first line of the Washington defense, but Kaylin Kyle manages to win the ball back and draw a foul in a very dangerous spot for the Dash. We mentioned in the pregame show, set pieces have been much more valuable to Houston of late. Let's see if they can convert early here.
Yeah, Randy had mentioned that they were able to capitalize on a lot of set pieces in that match in Dallas, so I'm sure that brings a lot of confidence to these players that they can be lethal that way.
Ari Romero, the right back out of Nebraska, comes all the way over to take the free kick. Romero driven into the box. Looked like Kyle rose up to head it, may have deflected off her shoulder. Eventually cleared by the Spirit. Spirit have had some struggles offensively as well, just 2 goals in their last 4 games. But Jen, they made some moves to address that. We'll get to that in a second. Jodie Taylor, the English national, pressuring here. Whitney Engen with little choice but to knock it out for the throw-in. Diana Matheson hands it off to Singer, and Oaks again knocks it out of play. Dash content to keep the Spirit in front of them. McCarty checking back to help out in defense. Alex Singer, one of those recent acquisitions. She gets a start tonight at right back. Drives past Oaks, service in. Cleared away by Engen. Ella Masser there to knock it on. And the Spirit will play through U.S. national teamer Allie Krieger. Great ball through here to Matheson. Matheson into the box, beats McLeod to it. Serves it across. Romero sweeps it away with the left foot. Still work to do for the Dash defense. Lori Lindsay, left foot. Shot blocked by Becky Edwards. Nina Berger will clear. Dicey moments for Houston here in the opening 5 minutes of play.
And that's not the first time we've seen a goal line clearance from Ari Romero. She did the exact same thing in New York on May 31st to keep the Dash ahead.
Romero, a likely starter for Mexico in the 2015 Women's World Cup. Big part of the Mexican national team program. Taylor turns at midfield. Finds Yael Averbush. Her ball over the top, a bit too long. As has come to be par for the course, Erin McLeod races quickly off her line to quell the threat.
And here's a look at that goal line save from Ari. Great run as she sees her keeper coming out. Beautiful cross by Matheson, but Ari's in the right place at the right time. She's done that before, and I'm sure she'll do that again.
Krieger, one-time clearance from one center back to the other. O'Hale heads it forward. Good possession header. She picks out Nina Berger, but the Austrian international, who is literally just back from World Cup qualifying duty, can't hold on. Remember, folks, catch the Dash Soccer in HD all season long here on CSN Houston. We're the home of the Dash and the Houston Dynamo. Romero throw into Kaylee Ohai. Ohai into the box with a step. Into McCarty. McCarty tries to turn, can't do so. Here's Kyle. First to it. A good challenge from Lori Lindsay ensures that Kyle couldn't get a shot off. Edwards sprays it wide. Berger on the ball. Again, the 3 forwards very interchangeable for the Dash. Ohai into the middle. Krieger away.
Ohio only has 1 goal for the Dash so far this season, but she leads the team in shots on goal. So I'm thinking those floodgates are about to break.
Leads the team in shots, shots on goal. Certainly a sign of a young player growing in confidence. Good possession here from Houston. Romero racing to get it. Saves the ball, but can't keep possession. Now the right back potentially caught out of position. Off goes Lisa Devana. Slips it past the Dash defense. Engen wants McLeod to come for it. And the Canadian international does. 8th minute, 0-0, but plenty of back and forth early in this game, Jen.
Well, and right there was a great example of what Whitney Engen brings to this team is defensive leadership, very vocal. As Randy had said, she's the real deal, and it really takes the burden off of Erin McLeod to corral the defense and keep the team shape.
Sometimes it's the little things, Jen. You know, Randy talks so much about the communication that Engen offers, and you see it there, be it verbal or nonverbal. Kaleo high. Caught in some trouble there, turns it over.
Well, especially after playing in Sweden with some Spaniards, some Brazilians, several other nationalities, I'm sure she's really good at the nonverbal communication.
There is an international language, no, to the beautiful game, as we're learning here in the World Cup. Edwards and Lindsay in a one-on-one. Lindsay over the top to Matheson. Matheson, service, cut out by Ohale.
Even at midfield, Matheson was the leading scorer for the Washington Spirit last season, converting several penalty kicks, making some attacks from midfield. And she had the game-winning goal in the bronze medal match in the 2012 Olympics.
Matheson, 5 goals, 3 assists already this year, hoping to add to that assist total here on the corner kick. Open ball to the penalty spot. We'll have a goal kick as Robin Gale heads it well wide. The Dash not afraid to play it out of the back. Certainly not with Erin McLeod. One of the goalkeepers with better foot skills in the NWSL. Good possession here. Berger turns on it. Nearly springs so high. Instead, it's Gale with the intervention.
And thinking about those World Cup matches today, I think we've got 2 keepers with pretty good PK saving skills. You know, it was Ashlyn Harris's PK that we saw in the pregame that won New York the 2011 WPS championship. And for those that can remember farther back than Sebastian in women's soccer, Erin McLeod had a PK save against Marta in the 2002 Under-19 Women's World Cup semifinal.
My virtual Wikipedia you are, Jen.
I prefer that to be called the Cliff Clavin of women's soccer.
Kyle on the ball. She'll drop it back to Ohale. We know it won't come down to a PK shootout tonight, but if our home games here at BBVA Compass Stadium have taught us anything, you can expect a penalty kick at some point over these 90 minutes.
We've seen a lot of those.
Averbush to Lindsay, part of a very experienced midfield for the Spirit. You can see the agony on Lindsay's face as that pass misses its target. A quick reminder, folks, dash on over to keepernotes.com every Monday afternoon for the latest episode of the Keeper Notes Women's Soccer Podcast. Host Jen Cooper covers the Houston Dash, NWSL, and all aspects of the North American women's soccer.
And sometimes we talk about the European qualifiers, like Nina Berger, 2 games with Austria. She got on the board once against Kazakhstan, helping Austria get into a really good place with they've got 2 games to play. Finland's above them in the standings, but Finland has to play number 1 France, and Austria doesn't. So Austria could sneak into one of those playoff spots for the Women's World Cup that's held next year.
Berger, the all-time leading scorer for the Austrians. Krieger with a ball over the top. She picks out Tori Huster. Krieger's distribution out of the back on point so far here tonight.
When I talked to Whitney Engen and Megan Klingenberg last week, they talked about having scouted Nina Berger since Tyroso played her team in Champions League, so that they were very excited to hear that she'd be one of their teammates.
Matheson again getting into a dangerous pocket of space right in front of that dash defense. Got her through ball off the mark. Jen, we mentioned at the beginning of the game, there have been some changes here for this Washington Spirit team. Nikki Cross, Alex Singer, both signed in the last couple weeks. Lisa Devana, part of a trade with Boston back on June 18th. So the Spirit doing a bit of a mid-season makeover.
Well, and this is the first Spirit start for Devana. She came off the bench last game. This is her first start. Really, the only change in their lineup from the last game was switching Christine Nairn and Lisa Devana. More importantly, on the bench for Washington is their newest acquisition, who hasn't seen any time yet for the club, Kirsten Garfrekas from Germany. She has such an amazing resume. 3 Women's World Cups, 2 Women's World Cup titles, 2 European titles, 43 goals for Germany and 130 caps. And the one, of course, that I remember most is USA versus Germany in the Women's World Cup semifinal 2003 that technically eliminated the U.S. from the World Cup they were hosting.
Oakes rises up, challenges, knocks it forward to Edwards. Her touch a bit heavy. Becky Edwards really involved in it all. One of only 3 players in the NWSL who are in the top 10 of both fouls committed and fouls suffered.
That's kind of her job, right?
Be in the mix, and she certainly does a good job of that. The heart and soul of this dash midfield. Houston applying some pressure here, creating a turnover deep in Washington's end in the 14th minute. Romero will come up from her right back spot. She is the throw-in specialist. Into the box, aiming for Berger, but the Spirit defense nods it away, and now Washington comes away with numbers. Matheson on the ball. As we mentioned atop the show, not an overwhelmingly hot night here in Houston, but extremely humid, and that could play a factor as this game wears on. Krieger's long ball won't find Jody Taylor, but it does put the dash deep in their own end. Kaleo High, about 60 yards from goal with her back to frame. Nice ball over the top here from Oakes. Can McCarty get to it? Decent pressure from Berger and McCarty there as Nikki Cross steers it out. Cross has played in Norway, Sweden, Germany, well-traveled, the 29-year-old.
There's a definite German flavor to this Spirit team. As you know, we know Ali Krieger spent a long time at Frankfurt, and that's where Gara Frekas had played most of her club ball. Also Alex Singer coming over from Turbine Potsdam.
Jody Taylor in behind the defense. She'll be ruled offside, and that's fortunate for Houston, as Taylor, who already has 6 goals, 4th in the league, was in one-on-one on Aaron McLeod. Take another look at it here.
Hard to see the defensive positioning from that angle. But Whitney Engen did a good job to keep her line high so that the player was called off.
Oakes surging forward, picks out Berger. Berger's first touch great, into the box, left-footed shot. A well-taken attempt from the Austrian international. We mentioned she's #1 for Austria in terms of international goals scored, 2nd in terms of caps.
She's the Christine Lilly of Austrian soccer. Something like that. Maybe the Abby Wambach.
Ashlyn Harris with the goal kick, as of yet untested. That may change here. Kaleo High racing in, right-footed shot, just misses. Dash with a great opportunity in the 17th minute as Ohio turns on the burner, showing off her speed.
She gets through those defenders, gets the shot off, but just a little wide. You know she's got that speed. Now we're just looking for the finish.
First real chance for the dash. Spirit so far having the better of play through the first quarter hour. After the dash apply some high pressure. Washington doing the same now, though Edwards Picks out a pocket of space. Now finds Berger, who turns and runs at the Spirit defense. Berger on her right foot. Tries to play it wide to Ari Romero. And you can perhaps see some of the rust from that travel, not training with her teammates. Berger usually more precise in the final third.
Though she definitely picked up a lot of frequent flyer miles. Flight to Austria, flight to Kazakhstan, all the way back to Houston. Thankfully, we won't miss her for the August World Cup qualifiers because Austria doesn't play again until September.
Divana with a dangerous rush, but it's cut out by Edwards, and here come the dash. McCarty trying to pick out Ohai and didn't miss by much. Kalia seemed to have a step on the Spirit defense. 0-0, 18 minutes in here at BBVA Compass Stadium. Yael Averbush on the ball. Houston now to Lori Lindsay. Dash playing a very high line. And the Spirit have taken advantage, getting in behind the Houston back four a couple of times already. So a few of those have been whistled offsides. That time the ball out of bounds as Alex Singer couldn't keep it in. Singer, a UVA product, another well-traveled player. She's played in Germany, Sweden, Australia. Oaks picks out Ella Masser. Quiet night so far for Masser. You know what she can bring on the offensive end. Has a goal-scoring touch, also the ability to create for others. She operates atop the three-man midfield with Kyle and Edwards in behind her.
And she had a hat trick last week against FC Dallas U23s.
Romero plays it back to McLeod. Two very different styles of play here, Jen. You see the Spirit sitting back a bit, allowing the dash to try and build out of the back. Houston with that high press that Randy Waldrum likes to use in his 4-3-3. One-touch pass from Ingen to Oaks. Oaks is touched long. Matheson strips it. Good fight from Oaks to momentarily win it back. Romero well positioned for the defensive header.
Yeah, it seems like the Spirit is only getting it up through Matheson.
Edwards in over the top to Ohai. Ohai into the box, right-footed shot. Great save, Ashlyn Harris. Gets down and picks it out. Otherwise, Ohai looked to be celebrating what would have been her second goal of the season.
It's very clear why Ashlyn Harris is part of that small pool being considered for the World Cup keepers for next summer's Women's World Cup. And I'm sure the confidence she gained from starting against France last week helps.
Gonna get another look at that opportunity. We'll save that for halftime. Great ball over the top, though, from Becky Edwards. You know, we talk a lot about her grit, Jen, but there's a lot more to her game, to be fair.
Several of the dash goals have come from a perfectly threaded Becky Edwards feed to someone's foot or someone's head.
Edwards 2 assists this season.
And she very nearly had the first ever dash goal in opening night, called offside.
Romero, service into the box. Harris, no problem. Quick note, if you want to win 2 tickets to the Houston Dash versus Western New York Flash on July 5th, text PRIZE to 69050 for your chance to win. Abby Wambach and the Flash coming to town. Good opportunity to see one of the all-time greats here in Houston. Lori Lindsay, after a nice build-up from the Spirit. And again, the dash, and we have to give Whitney Engen some credit for this, maintaining a high line, but an organized line. That's the 4th or 5th time we've seen offside called against the visitors.
And all the attack from the Spirit is coming up on that side. Perhaps it's because we've faced Lisa Divana before when she was with Boston, that second game back in April. They're able to shut her down, or it's just Ari Romero shutting her down. But all the Spirit attack is coming up the side of Stephanie Oaks.
Divana, Matheson, 2 very dangerous players on the wings in this one for Washington. 22 minutes in. Whitney Engen set to put it back in play. 0-0 here in Houston between the 5th place Spirit and the 8th place Dash. Remember, only the top 4 of 9 make the postseason in NWSL. Edwards over the top. Ohai pressing Krieger. Krieger with some fancy footwork. Dribble out of the back. Collision here. Obvious foul call for center ref Margaret Domka.
I like that Nina Berger's not afraid to play defense.
She is a former Vienna police officer, so she's been in dicier situations, I'd assume, than anything she'll encounter on a soccer field. Robin Gale set to throw it in for the Spirit. Gale, a bronze medalist with Canada in 2012 London Games. 78 caps for the Canadian team. O'Hale under a bit of pressure, sends it back to McLeod.
As much as we talk about the U.S. national teamers in NWSL, it's just as big of a story about the Canadians and also the Mexican national team players that, you know, it's a unique business plan that it's 3 federations working together to create basically a 6-month residency camp for all their players.
And we've talked about it quite a bit. We'll get back to that in a second. O'Hale with the turnover. Devana into the box. Devana on her left foot. Shot at McLeod. Save. And Whitney Engen will play it calmly out of the back. But a big moment there in the 24th minute as Erin McLeod makes the save.
Devana gets past O'Hale, gets right around her, takes a shot, but McLeod's got the save, and Engen cleanly follows up and clears it. That's the first time we've really seen Devana make some headway on that side.
Ella Masser now in behind the Spirit defense. End-to-end action. She sends it across, but Harris well positioned at the near post to snuff it out.
Tiffany McCarty just a few steps too slow there.
Here comes Singer. Not afraid to jump into the attack from her right back spot. Red hot Jody Taylor trying to find a connection here in the final third for Washington, unable to do so.
Yeah, she's their leading scorer on the season with Matheson right behind her.
Romero with some space. Steered away by Gale. A rare mistake from O'Hale led to that chance for the Spirit. But her backstop, Erin McLeod, there to bail the Nigerian out. Ohai turns, nice ball into Berger. Unfortunate there as it clipped off her heel and out of bounds. Three games in the next week for the Houston Dash. Jen, that's one of the reasons Megan Klingenberg left out of this game with a hamstring injury. No sense in risking her.
And I'm sure a lot of the Houston Dash fans are disappointed that they've waited so long and they're going to have to wait a little longer. But, you know, we've seen it in soccer before. If you rush coming back from an injury, you're just going to make things worse in the long term. And the Dash actually have a pretty large slate of home games coming up after a trip to Sky Blue next Wednesday. They've got several home games in July.
I talked to Randy Waldrum on the phone today, and he says it feels like Kling's been here for a month and a half and she has yet to suit up. So yeah. I know he's anxious to get her out there as well. A great defender, but also a versatile player in her own right. I mean, she can play in that holding midfield role. Just gives him a lot more options.
I think that's the big question, is where we're going to see Klingenberg play, because Engen was a natural. Okay, we basically had reserves filling in for center back, so of course Whitney's going there. But where's Klingenberg going to play after we've seen Stephanie Oakes develop into such a natural left back?
Lindsay with a imprecise touch there, and the Dash will get an opportunity to operate in the Spirit half, so they give it right back. Singer's ball through, finds Taylor. Taylor in between Oaks and Ohale. Now Stephanie Oaks, who continues to impress in her transition to left back, knocks it out for throwing. Singer into Matheson. Matheson just 5'1", plays much bigger than that.
Actually, that's rounding up, Sebastian. It's 5 feet and a quarter inch per
Well,
Wikipedia.
You've got to add the cleats.
Oh, okay,
So.
yeah. I have noticed in most media guides that it seems like every player gets a couple more inches.
Yeah.
Than
You know, I do a little bit more than just soccer, mostly soccer, but in football, the guys get an extra 30 pounds and an extra 3 inches. In basketball, they get an extra 3-4 inches, especially at the college level. So, soccer's about as honest as you'll get on that stuff.
Yeah.
Oaks showing off the foot skills that made her a promising forward at one point for the US U23s. Berger fights off Singer. Krieger there to spring the Spirit attack. Lori Lindsay on the ball, tried to play it through. Had Devana streaking past the Dash defense, but the pass cut out. Here's Robin Gale with plenty of space on the far side. She wanted Devana. Again, lots of new pieces here for the Spirit, and you get that sense. They've been dangerous, but the final touch a bit lacking.
Well, especially their last 3 games, they were missing several players due to international call-up. So not only do you have those new players coming in, but you have people that have played different positions in that off time. So it's, you know, it's trying to figure out how those pieces work best together. And of course, this club last year finishing in last place, they had already gone through so many changes, even last season and then in the off season. Not starting tonight is one of their biggest changes in the offseason was #1 overall draft pick Crystal Dunn, who, you know, just out of college already has several caps for the U.S. national team. And if she weren't nursing an injury, would probably be starting.
Yeah, and getting the scouting report from Randy Waldrum, Dunn was one of the players he circled. So while the Spirit will miss her, the Dash hope to take advantage of a bit of a makeshift back four for Washington.
Yeah, and Allie Krieger, who for the national team we normally see at outside back, here she's center, and Singer, who's normally outside, is inside. Or maybe I said that backwards.
You did. And aside from that, nothing gets past the keeper. Funny they should hand me this promo right now. That's why I should listen to the Keeper Notes Soccer Show every Sunday at 10 on Yahoo Sports Radio 1560. For more info, check out keepernotes.com.
I'm going to blame the humidity. That's what it is.
You won't be the only one doing it tonight. Folks, if you've never been to Houston, it is oppressive. I'm from the Washington, D.C. area.
It's like this in D.C.
No, it's not.
I've been to D.C. in the summer. It's like this.
Maybe for a few days here and there, but
right,
it's not for 45 straight days. As
yeah,
it is.
our humid season is about 10 times as long as D.C.'s.
So while the Spirit players are not, they're not coming from Boston.
Right.
It's certainly tough. Taylor into the box to Singer, just under her foot. If not, could have been a dangerous opportunity for the Spirit. Boy, Singer getting high up the field from her defensive spot.
Yeah, coming over from Germany, Turbine Potsdam, I'm sure she's not liking this heat and humidity either.
We mentioned Megan Klingenberg not available tonight with a hamstring issue. Brittany Bach, of course, tore her ACL earlier this year. She's done for the season. Teresa Noyola also not available to Randy Waldrum tonight, dealing with an Achilles injury. They've shut her down for the time being, going to reassess in the next week or so, see where she is. But Noyola, such a nice option off the bench.
And If you have any of those penalty kicks, like we mentioned, you want Noyola taking it.
She may be the only one you want taking it, as we've seen here at BBVA Compass Stadium. The penalty kick far from a guarantee for the Dash. Although Teresa stepped right up and delivered when she was called upon.
If we get Noyola healthy, that would finally be the first game where you have all 3 allocated players.
Devana around O'Holly. Devana into the box on her left foot. Shot. McLeod off the bar. Jody Taylor offside, but wow, what a save from Erin McLeod. Incredible stuff from the Canadian.
Great stretch, little help from the post. Clear. It's very clear why John Herdman considers her his number 1 for next year in the Women's World Cup. And that's why Randy Waldrum has described trading Melissa Tancredi for Erin McLeod one of the best trades he's ever made.
And how about the strike and the run from Devana? Just as we were saying that she'd been quite quiet, on the outside of her foot, nearly bends it in. Highlight. 34th minute here at BBVA Compass Stadium, still tied at 0. The Spirit seem closer to an opening strike, if only by a little. Romero, long throw. Ohio fending off Gale. Youth first experience. Ohio wins here. Into McCarty. Masser shot. Masser just over the bar. Ella's one-time effort from just beyond the penalty spot did not miss by much.
Leans back just a little too much for it to go over. Would have been a great way to open the scoring tonight. And really smart feed from Kaylee Ohio over on the outside.
And Kaylee really starting to become a matchup issue for different teams in this league. Great skill, but what sets her apart is the pace. She gets in behind the Washington defense there.
Blistering pace.
Masser up. I think she took a knock off the back of the head, perhaps from her own teammate. And Becky Edwards will put it out of play. Masser in obvious pain. Of course, got to be extra careful with head injuries. And yeah, it was dash-on-dash violence there. So Edwards and Masser both going for the ball.
And she's taken knocks before, as we've talked about previously.
To say the least, right?
To say the least, yeah. 4 broken noses from soccer. But she said the last nose job to fix it will last a lifetime.
If you missed our last broadcast, just an incredible story from our CSN colleague Tiffany Blackman on Ella Masser and her personal story, and also really the tale of her career. Up and down, underappreciated in the college ranks, through the pro ranks, right up to really defying the odds to play with the national team. I mean, she's done it all.
Well, and the story of any player, I think, who walks on to a Division I NCAA team and ends up getting playing time, and not only playing time, but getting drafted out of college and getting a call-up for the U.S. national team, speaks volumes.
She's the other half of the Erin and Ella show. Check that out over at HoustonDynamo.com, Houston-Soccer.com as well. So they do it once a week, is it, that they do their show?
Ish.
Depending on travel and commitments and all that stuff, but they're an entertaining duo, to say the least.
Right. Well, and I like the story from the CSN package about why she wears number 30, because I had wondered, normally you don't see numbers that high, and it was her father's number football at University of Illinois, and that's where she played her college ball as well. Of course, she wasn't playing football. She was playing soccer.
Real football.
Football.
Her late father, Terry, a punter at Illinois.
He was probably a secret soccer player, because usually they take the soccer players and make them punters.
McLeod with a dicey clearance. Matheson, left foot, going to try and chip Erin, who holds her hand up and says, "My bad." But all's well that ends well. 37th minute, 0-0. Houston and Washington tied. Both teams have work to do if they want to get into that top 4. So splitting points here, not really ideal for either.
And just like that game in May in Maryland, very back and forth affair. We just haven't seen anyone find net yet.
Lindsay with a chance to spring Devana through there. Great cutout by Whitney Engen. Oaks with the ball forward. Alex Singer intercepts. He's all the way back to Oaks. Kaylin Kyle on it now. Nice pass to Becky Edwards. Edwards through. McCarty racing. Can she challenge Singer? Singer turns on it. Steers it up the line to Lori Lindsay. Long ball over the top from Lindsay. They've clearly got the scouting report on the dash. Houston likes to play with a high line in that back 4, but Ohale here to deal with it. Can't keep it in play. Spirit ball deep in the dash end.
Of course, there's 2 other NWSL games going on tonight, and we won't mention scores at this point if people don't want a spoiler, but those games can impact where these teams end up in the standings, especially the Sky Blue Seattle match.
Yeah, Jen, Seattle really running away with this league in unprecedented fashion.
If they win or tie tonight, and they're playing at home hosting Sky Blue, they will equal Washington Freedom's record of 14 in a row undefeated. But of course, they'll be the only team to do that all in one season, to start the season, and they still have not lost.
Remember, folks, for all your updates on the Houston Dynamo, the Dash, TSU football, and more, make sure to follow BBVA Compass Stadium. You got Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. It's at BBVA Compass STDM. McCarty looking to see this ball out. She does so. Tiffany, the leading scorer for the Dash, with 4 goals so far this season. Another one of those young players really starting to find their confidence in the second half of the campaign. Krieger and Berger in a battle. Lori Lindsay will drop back in to help the defense. Great touch from Matheson to keep it in. She'll play it dangerously across midfield. Ari Romero jumps in to intercept. Kyle with time and space. Picks out Ella Masser. Masser's touch not quite what she wanted, but it finds Berger. Berger volley. Nikki Cross with the clearance. Ohale sliding challenge at midfield. Well done from the Nigerian. She puts in Kaylee Ohai, who's gotten the better of Robin Gale once already. Can she do it again? Ohai with speed. Past the Canadian. Service in. Masser. Masser shot. Save Harris. And tucked away by Nikki Cross. Corner kick coming up for the Dash as Houston tilts the field towards the Washington goal.
Another great run by Ohai and gets the ball in. Masser again on the touch, but Harris coming up big with that save.
Ohai and Masser right now very much on the same page. It's the second time we've seen that combination in the Washington box. Stephanie Oaks across the field for the corner kick. She'll swing it in with her left foot. Low-driven ball, and not what Oaks wanted there. It'll be a goal kick for the Spirit.
Since the Dash traded Nikki Washington to Boston earlier in the season, Stephanie Oaks has become the go-to corner kick taker.
And again, we mentioned it briefly at the top of the show, but Oaks started this year as a winger, and Randy Waldrum, kind of sitting on an idea he'd had with the US U23s, moves her to left back. And the transition has gone about as smooth as you could hope. Of course, Oaks played for the Spirit last year.
Yeah, she and Tiffany McCarty and Kika Toulouse, who's on the bench.
Harris punches away. Matheson in transition now for Washington, 42nd minute.
Yeah, both of the Dash Brazilians are on the bench tonight. Rafa Souza and Kika Toulouse. I interviewed them yesterday about their thoughts about the World Cup, and of course they both predicted that Brazil will take the whole thing, but they both had amazing stories about playing women's professional soccer in Brazil.
I probably had to recover from that penalty kick shootout this morning. Randy Waldron
Maybe
wanted
that's
them in
why
the right
they're on the
frame of mind,
bench.
right? That was incredible. I mean, just such a great time in the soccer world. We got the Women's World Cup coming up in a year.
And even
Men's
in
World Cup.
August, you have the U20 Women's World Cup, and so many of the players in NWSL have seen time playing for the U20s. You know, even Souza played in the 2010. Kaleo High had the game-winning goal against Japan in the 2012 tournament. So there's so much talent there. And speaking of the U20 tournament, I'm sure many people have heard me tell this story before, but that inaugural tournament in Canada in 2002, and that was when it was U19s, featured Ashlyn Harris in goal for the USA and Erin McLeod in goal for Canada. So I wonder if they realize that. It's kind of like a rematch.
Great job from McCarty to dig it out of trouble there, but couldn't maintain possession as the Spirit defense collapsed on her. Matheson now drops it back to Huster. Huster pushing it through a crowd. And Ohale will send it long. Krieger chases it down. Keeps it in, and she'll play through Ashlyn Harris.
We're also coming into that season of international friendlies in the States. Of course, we won't see as many clubs since the World Cup kind of eats up some of that time. But, you know, like we have Aston Villa coming in next month to play the Dynamo. I know Liverpool's doing a North American tour.
Yeah, at this point, if you're a big European power and you're not coming to the United States during the summer,
you're missing out.
Yeah, you're kind of on the outside looking in. Ari Romero, another long throw. And Kaleo High has been a handful here tonight down that right side. Her pace unmatched along this Washington back line. They're going up against Nikki Cross. Cross able to head it out. But the Dash inching closer and closer towards the Spirit goal. Romero, cross deflected. Ford ever made it into the box. Kaylin Kyle. Edwards, one touch. Romero with space. Can she find service? Devana, good defense out there. Devana will turn and distribute. Such class on the ball. Matheson now. Lindsay and Matheson down the right side. Taylor drops it back, one touch. Taylor wanted it back over the top. Singer couldn't pull the trigger. Cross under some pressure. Goes back to Krieger. Krieger, a two-time All-American at Penn State. Started every game she played in for the Nittany Lions.
And a teammate of Erin McLeod's.
Lindsay, a chip into Taylor. Taylor wanted Matheson, but her header off the mark. 1 minute of added time here in the first half is all we've been given. So 60 seconds until we break. And a well-deserved break for both teams. Again, an incredibly humid night here in Houston, even by Bayou City standards. Gale manages to keep it in. Both teams have had their chances here in the opening 45 minutes. Neither able to break through. Lindsay now with time and space. Matheson again threatening to get in behind the Dash defense. McLeod on the ball. And center referee Margaret Domka whistles for halftime. After 45 minutes here at BBVA Compass Stadium, we are scoreless. Houston Dash 0, Washington Spirit 0. We'll be back in just a moment on CSN.
As a BBVA Compass customer, you have the chance to show your true colors every time you open your wallet.
Wow. Oh, yeah.
Presenting Dynamo Banking, featuring debit and credit card options that can help you reach your goals. Open your account today at any of our 80 locations in Houston or online at bbvacampus.com/dynamo. Team works in soccer and in banking.
Making isotopes that can detect Alzheimer's before any symptoms occur. That's the difference between practicing medicine and leading it. Houston Methodist, leading medicine.
Before and after every game, watch Dynamo pre- and post-game live, only on Comcast Sportsnet.
I don't think anybody is more conscious of the fact that he's still to score on the biggest stage and Wayne himself. He needs to make a difference.
Will he score, Wayne? Will he break it up, Wayne?
The question is, can Neymar live up to the number 10 legend?
E foi assim, ano passado, que Portugal venceu graças a Ronaldo. Ficou...
On a night made for melting ice, we have yet to break it. Here in Houston, the Houston Dash and Washington Spirit tied at 0 at the half. Welcome back into BBVA Compass Stadium. Sebastian Salazar, Jen Cooper. Jen, your thoughts on the first half? 0-0, but plenty of chances for both sides.
Much like their match in May in Maryland, back and forth, back and forth. However, no one's found net. And I think that's mostly due to the two keepers in goal. Both of them, some of the best in the league, and they're really showing us why.
Ashlyn Harris, Aaron McLeod, both putting their talents on full display here tonight. Let's check out the highlights from the first half. Again, no goals, but plenty of action. We pick things up fairly early on in the 5th minute as Diana Matheson gets in behind the defense. How about this play from Ari Romero?
Great job by McLeod to get out there, but Romero does what she's supposed to do and drops back and helps out.
From there, we see Kaylee Ohai start to exert her influence on the game, getting behind the Washington defense. She really did it quite a few times in that first half.
And a smart feed by Becky Edwards right over the top, almost to Kaylee's foot, but Ashlyn Harris comes out, smothers that ball.
Jen, you mentioned some great saves from Aaron McLeod. How about this one in the 24th minute off the turnover? The left-footed drive, not good enough to beat the Canadian international. And then 8 minutes later, incredible save, got a little help from the far post. But how about that to deny Jody Taylor?
It's rare that you see somebody get by Ohale, but Devonna did it. And there, Masser, just leaning back a little too far, couldn't get that in the goal.
40th minute, perhaps the best chance of the half. Ella Masser again off another feed from Kaylee Ohai. And that tells the story, 0-0 through 45 minutes. Look, Jen, it's dead even. One corner kick apiece. The fouls, a fairly cleanly played first half. Shots even between the Dash and Spirit. When we return, some World Cup talk, both men's and women's. We'll be back. Plenty more soccer action coming your way here on CSN.
As a BBVA Compass customer, you have the chance to show your true colors every time you open your wallet.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Presenting Dynamo Banking, featuring debit and credit card options that can help you reach your goals. Open your account today at any of our 80 locations in Houston or online at bbvacompass.com/dynamo. Team works in soccer and in banking.
An exoskeleton powered by brainwaves to help the paralyzed walk again. That's the difference between practicing medicine and leading it. Houston Methodist, leading medicine.
Deep in midfield, it slipped into Clark, trying to line up his way. There it is from Will. Who's done just about anything else. Give it away, Brad Davis, and we are level.
Before and after every game, watch Dynamo pre- and post-game live, only on Comcast Sportsnet.
Learn soccer the Dynamo way and start your path to the pros. The Houston Dynamo offer youth programs for every age and skill level, from a challenging introduction to soccer to intensive competition training and opportunities to play for the Dynamo Academy.
This is Ricardo Clark of the Houston Dynamo. The Dynamo youth programs offer the professional environment required to develop your game and prepare you for success.
To find out more or to register for Dynamo youth programs, visit HoustonDynamo.com.
Welcome back to BBVA Compass Stadium. National Women's Soccer League action. Here on CSN, Sebastian Salazar and Jen Cooper. Really busy time in the soccer world. You got the World Cup. We're also preparing for the Women's World Cup about 12 months from now up in Canada. And of course, NWSL season hitting kind of that second half stretch where everybody's trying to make a run at the postseason. Only 4 of the 9 teams will get to the playoffs, so I think it's a good time now to take a look at the standing and see where everybody's kind of shaping out. We know, though,
spoiler alert, we're
right,
going to talk scores now.
We don't want people to get mad at us. If you're watching on YouTube or on CSN, you don't want to know the scores of the NWSL games.
Look away.
Now's the time to look away. But let's take a look at the graphics, because I want to see the standings, and it's really been a phenomenal season up in Seattle. What they're doing is, as we mentioned, unprecedented in NWSL and even women's soccer history in this country.
Right, and right now at halftime, they're playing Sky Blue. They're tied 0-0, so that could end up in a tie, could end up in a win. Obviously, we'd like to see, as Houston Dash, Sky Blue stay down in the standings with us. FC Kansas City and Portland Thorns. FC pulled it out at home, 1-0 win on a goal by Lauren Holiday. That moves her into 4th place overall in league scoring tables with 6 goals. She was the Golden Boot winner last year for goals, so that's an important win for them as Kansas City makes up ground. They're gaining on Seattle in points, but they have still played more games.
Speaking to Randy Waldrum earlier today, and it looks like Seattle and Kansas City, at least right now, barring any type of major collapse, have themselves set up to take 2 of those 4 spots, and then it's really a race. And everybody's in this thing, even the Dash down there in the 8th spot. They're 7 points back off the playoff line, but the games come so quick, so heavy here in the late summer that you can really make up points in a hurry. And while the Dash needs 7 points to get to 20, which is what would get you right now up to that playoff line, there's going to be plenty of opportunities to make up ground on the Portlands, the Chicagos, and Western New York in the coming weeks, including the Washington Spirit.
It also matters who you have left to play. The Dash still have 2 matches against Seattle, which we know will be really tough. Conversely, they have 2 matches left against Boston, which the Dash got their first win against, and Boston is still struggling. You know, when you look at the number of games played, it's uneven because it's an odd number of teams of the league, so the schedule can never be balanced, you know, on one given week. So everyone's still in play, even Boston.
All right, so let's take a look at some action from around the NWSL as we close out Week 12. As you mentioned, Jen, FC Kansas City with a 1-0 win over the Portland Thorns. That's a Portland team that hung 6 on this Washington Spirit side a week ago. It kind of gives you the idea that from week to week, not a lot translates in this league. You kind of never know what you're going to get, right?
Right, definitely, especially when, the Thorns were the champions last year, though Kansas City really took it to them and then lost in overtime in the semifinals. It's also important from a Dash perspective that Portland lost because, again, it keeps the middle of the standings flat.
The World Cup going on right now in Brazil. Next summer, the Women's World Cup will take place up in Canada, an expanded field which gives a lot of different players in different countries a chance to get into. I think it's a great thing for the women's game. There will probably be some uneven score lines, but the more the merrier, right?
Well, and FIFA had considered for 2011 going to 24 and decided that was just a little too early. So I think 2015, the time is right. You're seeing the growth of leagues in many countries, not just here with the NWSL, but also with the Women's Soccer League in the UK. Of course, the Frauen Bundesliga has been around a long time, but the growth of the sport worldwide for women has been amazing, and I think it's time for the 24 teams.
And there could be a fairly heavy Dash influence come Canada 2015. I mean, there's 6, 7, maybe 8 players on this roster who could be playing in the Women's World Cup.
I know a lot of people asked me when the Dash got its original allocations. They're like, hey, we didn't get a U.S. national team star. And I said, yes, we did. You just don't know her yet. And I was thinking Whitney Eggen. I was like, I would be really surprised if she's not a starter next year for the U.S. Klingenberg could very possibly be in that mix as well. And then, of course, the host country, Canada, you've got Erin McLeod, the starting keeper for the Maple Leafs. Kaylin Kyle, definitely in that mix. And as we talked about in the first half, we could see Nina Berger's Austria make their first ever Women's World Cup.
Osinachi Ohale as well, Teresa Noyola, Ari Romero. I mean, there's so many players on this Dash roster.
Even Rafael Souza, she's only seen 1 cap for the Brazilian national team. She's been called up some other times. You never know.
The Women's World Cup, about 12 months away. Can you believe it?
Less than 12 months away.
It's coming. All right, we got to take a break. When we return, the second half kickoff at the break. The Houston Dash 0, the Washington Spirit 0. Critical 45 minutes coming up here at BBVA Compass Stadium. We'll be back in just a moment.
As a BBVA Compass customer, you have the chance to show your true colors every time you open your wallet.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Presenting Dynamo Banking, featuring debit and credit card options that can help you reach your goals. Open your account today at any of our 80 locations in Houston or online at bbvacompass.com/dynamo. Team works in soccer and in banking.
A device that reads brainwaves to help the paralyzed walk again. A tiny isotope that detects Alzheimer's before any symptoms occur. A procedure that repairs heart valves without opening the chest. A better tomorrow made possible today. That's the difference between practicing medicine and leading it. Houston Methodist, leading medicine.
Before and after every game, watch Dynamo pre- and post-game live, only on Comcast Sportsnet.
I don't think anybody is more conscious of the fact that he's still to score on the biggest stage and Wayne himself. He needs to make a difference.
The question is, can Neymar live up to the number 10 legend? E foi assim, ano passado, que Portugal venceu graças a Ronaldo. Ficou...
Glad to have you back with us here at BBVA Compass Stadium. Sebastian Salazar, Jen Cooper, 0-0 at the half between the Houston Dash and Washington Spirit. Dash head coach Randy Waldrum going over some last-minute instructions with his two holding midfielders, Becky Edwards, Kaylin Kyle. And look at that, just on the heels of us mentioning the Women's World Cup. See some fans decked out in Mexico El Tri jerseys here to support Teresa Noyola and Ari Romero. Looks like we will have our first sub of the game for the Houston Dash. Marissa Diggs is set to come on, and she'll replace Osinachi Ohale, who comes off after just 45 minutes of play.
I wonder if that's a move to start managing legs, knowing that the team flies to New Jersey for the game on Wednesday, turns around, comes straight back for a game here Saturday against Western New York Flash.
I would also suggest this. The Spirit have had no shortage of opportunities in getting in behind the Dash defense. We know what Marissa Diggs' strength is, and that's her speed. Randy Waldrum loves having her back there to provide a little bit extra cover. Edwards forward to Ohai. Krieger. Pure class from the veteran. She feeds it forward. Here comes Averbush. No changes for head coach Mark Parsons of the Spirit. Got his same 11 out there. Aaron McLeod. He's ready to put us back in play here. Challenge here from Tiffany McCarty will draw the ire of Margaret Domka. Tori Huster seemed to get the worst of that challenge.
Now the Spirit also have a game coming up Wednesday, but they do not play the following weekend, so they'll see a little extra time off.
Ladies and gentlemen, a substitution at halftime for the Dash. Entering the match, number 23, Marissa Diggs.
Matheson on the far side, defended by Berger. Puts it back to Singer. Singer, a very active first half. She finds Averbush. Lori Lindsay will track this ball down. Lindsay breaking into the U.S. national team a bit later in her career.
She's one of the few players in NWSL that also played in WSA and WPS. She won a championship with WSA 2003 with the Freedom.
Good challenge there from Diggs. She crashes into Robin Gale. Throw in for the Canadian international. Romero just gets there in time, but Matheson atop the box. Shot blocked by Engen. Falls to Singer. Singer with a chance to cross. Does so. Can't find her intended target. McLeod gathers easily in the 48th minute. Kyle and Huster. Kyle tries to find Ohai. Ball last touched by Washington. Some urgency from Kaylin Kyle on the near sideline. Wants to put it in play.
You know, Sebastian, to prove your point about how hot and muggy it is tonight, I think this is the first home game where we've seen Randy Waldrum take off his jacket.
You are astute in your observation. I believe that to be correct. He may have taken it off in frustration in the game in which he was ejected.
True.
But that's another story for another day.
And it was after that game that he was ejected, the team played the Spirit, and he didn't coach that game. He got to watch that one from the press box with Jillian Ellis and April Heinrichs.
Ari Romero now with a chance to take one of her patented long throws from deep in Washington territory. Instead, she'll drop it back to Diggs. Jody Taylor checking all the way back to break that up. Oh, high now in the box. Crosses it, but not with enough pace to challenge Ashlyn Harris. Harris, another one of these players, Jen, with kind of a great comeback tale in her career. 2 torn ACLs while at UNC, and
among other things, torn hip labrum, serious thumb injury, which sounds like an oxymoron, but for a goalkeeper, it's not. And I saw several great stories online about how basically it was Whitney Engen that convinced her to not give up soccer after that second ACL tear.
It certainly worked out as she has made her way into the conversation to take one of the goalkeeping spots in Canada with the U.S. next summer.
And the perseverance after having been the starting keeper for the 2002 and 2004 U19 team to then not get your first cap with the senior team till 2013 says a lot.
McCarty in the box. Averbush does a simple thing. Knocks it deep. Tough spot for Diggs. She battles with Taylor. And Diggs does well there. Combining to play it all the way back to Erin McLeod. McLeod, great distribution. Can Oaks get to it? Not quite. But you see the idea there from Erin. When possible, the Dash really want to play out of the back. The long balls that most teams rely on from their goalkeeper, not usually the preferred option for a team under head coach Randy Waldrum. Alex Singer to put it back in play here. Lori Lindsay. Lindsay through to Matheson. Matheson now into the box. And if not for another timely intervention from Whitney Engen, Lisa Devana was creeping into a very dangerous area right in front of the Houston goal. McLeod picks out Ari Romero. Romero struggles to bring it down. McCarty fighting for it. Her numerical counterpart, Nikki Cross. Remember, folks, get social with the Houston Dash. Like us, follow us, watch us on all your favorite social media outlets. To get extended coverage of the Dash, log on to houston-soccer.com/social media for your social media dashboard. #DashOn. Crowded near sideline, but the Dash work through it. Edwards now fighting with Huster in the corner. Huster comes away with the ball. Engen. Monstrous challenge. Heads it deep into Washington's end. Robin Gale at left back for Washington. Here's McCarty. A very quiet evening so far for Houston's leading goal scorer. McCarty, 4 strikes already this season. Randy Waldrum would love for her to find number 5 sometime in the next 40 minutes. Ball last touch by Houston. Kaylin Kyle disagrees. Kyle, another part of this very physical Dash midfield. McCarty plays out of trouble. Back to Kyle. It's all the way back to Whitney Engen. Engen under some pressure there.
Kaylin Kyle's another one of the players on the field tonight that the Dash played against in that match in Boston in April, the first win for the club. Randy Waldrum traded Nikki Washington to get Kaylin Kyle for midfield after Brittany Bach went out with that ACL injury.
I don't know if Randy Waldrum will win NWSL Coach of the Year, but he ought to win GM of the year for all of the moves he's pulled and just how he's been able to kind of make the most out of a team that was built one way and still here 13 games into the season. He hasn't really had yet at full strength.
Especially coming out of a very long NCAA career where the rule book is completely different. You know, you have your team at the beginning of the season and that's that. There's no trades, you don't have allocations, you don't have a draft.
Edwards slicing towards the center of the park. Ohai keeps it in play. Ohai, one-on-one with Gale. Ohai into the box. Gale sweeping challenge. Ohai with a chance to cross. Cuts it back on her left foot. Service in. Flicked. Oh, nearly. An incredible goal from Tiffany McCarty. And a great service from Kaylee Ohai as the two young wingers connect.
Just outside the net. That would have been a great goal for Tiff.
McCarty, the back heel flick. That could have been something special. Couple Dash players warming up on the near sideline. Kika Toulouse and Kelly McFarland. Kyle under pressure.
Kika Toulouse is one of the players that the Dash picked from the Spirit in the not the allocation, in the expansion draft in January.
Here's Romero trying to chase down that ball. Couldn't do so, but a ambitious run from the young right back. Perhaps we get an idea of what was said at halftime by Randy Waldrum, encouraging his team to push forward in search of 3 points. Lindsay Elston now joining the warm-up on the near sideline. Elston, a player we have not seen this season.
Not since very early on in the season. High ankle sprain has been keeping her out of the lineup. She did get some time last weekend against Dallas, even got their final goal for the Dash. So it's good to see her on the bench and maybe getting some minutes.
Matheson under pressure from Kyle. 3 Canadians down there in the corner. Matheson, Kyle, Gale. It'll be Gale that knocks it forward and out of bounds. Dash throw-in. 57th minute, 0-0. Chances aplenty in the first half, but great goalkeeping as well. Ashlyn Harris, Erin McLeod, 2 of the league's best, standing on their respective heads to keep us scoreless. Lori Lindsay with a chance to switch here, and she's got Alex Singer with an acre of space. The right back charging forward for Washington. Engen slides to win possession. Becky Edwards on it now. She'll relieve pressure through Romero on the near sideline. Romero into McCarty. Tense moments here at BBVA Compass Stadium. Both teams in search of the game's opener. Neither wanting to concede, and looks like we've got a pair of subs on the near sideline approaching the 4th official. We'll get to that in a minute as the Spirit charge forward. Lori Lindsay leaves it for Devana, but she's ruled offsides. And it'll be Kika Toulouse and Christine Nairn set to check in for Houston and Washington respectively. Of course, Nairn, the author of that incredible stoppage time goal back on May 26th. The winner is the Spirit beat the Dash 3-2 just outside the nation's capital.
And Kika Toulouse, that was her former team, Washington Spirit, and that's the last time that she saw NWSL action was that game against the Spirit on May 26th.
Substitution for the Dash.
So Toulouse will replace Nina Berger. Slight correction from our broadcast in the first half. I said she was a former Vienna police officer. She is an active Vienna police officer and will return to her role.
She can't really be active if she's here.
Well, when she returns,
yeah,
she will return to her police work duties.
So I'd say right now she's a former. When she goes back, then she'll be current.
Here's Nairn in behind the defense and ruled offsides.
Well, if she arrests you after the game, then we'll know she's current.
I'm not going to push it.
I was speaking with Kika Toulouse yesterday about, the World Cup and also what was it like to play your former team. And the best word she had was bizarre. I kept thinking I was supposed to pass to the people in red. Thankfully, she didn't.
Toulouse known more as a defender, but perhaps Randy Waldrum here hoping to find some of that Brazilian flair in the final third to unlock the Spirit back four.
Oh, last year she was basically a utility player for the Spirit, so she's used to playing whatever role she's needed in.
Oakes looking for a cross. It gets knocked out. We will have a corner kick. Quick reminder, don't miss the Dynamo as they take on the New York Red Bulls on July 4th at 7:30 here at BBVA Compass Stadium. Tickets are on sale now. Log on to HoustonDynamo.com today.
And there will be fireworks after that one.
Should be a great 3-day stretch of soccer here at the stadium. Ball served in. Huster rises, heads it away.
Yeah, and the match against the Spirit in May, Kika played the whole 90 as defense, and here she is stepping in it forward.
Masser on the ball, on that left foot. She'll give it a rip. Huster with the block, but she paid the price for it. Here come the Spirit on the counter. Devana on the far side working against Engen. She'll switch it to Jody Taylor. Taylor on that right foot. The shot, the chip. Goal! Spirit! Washington up 1-0 as Jody Taylor hits her 7th of the year.
With this chip, Jody Taylor moves into 4th on the scoring charts for NWSL. That's her 7th goal of this season. English National knows how to get it done.
So the goal coming in the 62nd minute for the Spirit as they go up 1-0 here in Houston. The Dash with a half hour to claw their way back into this. But a brilliant finish from the English National.
And we know the Dash is used to coming from behind. Lots of soccer yet to play.
Houston burnt there on the counter. Great build-up from the Spirit. They recently acquired Lisa Devana, springing the attack for Washington.
Yeah, Devana played for Sky Blue last year, and one of her goals was even nominated for the prestigious Puskas Award. You know, that award that Ibrahimovic won.
Not bad competition, huh?
Definitely not.
McCarty playing with her back to goal draws Krieger all the way out of her central defense position. Service in, cross heads away.
So Devana traded in the offseason to Boston and then traded with Washington Spirit. They gave up Bianca Sierra to Boston in exchange for Devana.
Huster clears away. And again, Washington with a chance to strike on the counter. Lori Lindsay will switch it to Nairn. Intercepted by Becky Edwards. Engen patiently working the ball up the field. Oh, high, called for a foul. Here in the 64th minute. Kaylia Dynamite first half. She was a consistent threat in behind the Spirit defense. Devano wanted Taylor. Those two have looked dangerous. And they just combined to put Washington on top.
And I know Washington would love to have a shutout because right now, even in 6th place in the standings, they have the highest goals per game allowed in the league.
Urgency ratcheted up a notch here with a half hour to go. The Dash, after a slow start, can ill afford to give up any more ground in the chase for the postseason. Certainly not at home, and certainly not against one of the teams that you're chasing. Romero to put it in play. Masser checking short. The Mexican international waves her off. Toulouse turns. Romero. Oh, high. Oh, high. Masser keeps it in. Masser the cross. Header from Edwards. And it'll be a corner kick for the Dash.
The Dash will meet the Spirit one more time this season, but with the loss here, that means that the Spirit have earned the tiebreaker, if the tiebreaker is needed in the final standings, that they would win the series.
Oaks will take the corner kick. 66th minute. Big opportunity here for Houston to equalize. Oaks service. Well driven in. Huster with the header. Devana nods it on. Oh, high right back into the box. Nairn with the clearance. Romero under pressure. She just gets it back to Erin McLeod. Quick reminder, keep up with Keeper Notes to stay in touch with all the latest women's soccer news on Facebook, Twitter, and at keepernotes.com. You better keep her notes. Another sub coming here for the visitors as Robin Gale will make way for Crystal Dunn. So Dunn, perhaps not fit to go the full 90, but able to give head coach Mark Parsons at least a few minutes here as Washington looks to hold on to a 1-0 lead.
And that means we have the number 1 and number 2 overall draft picks on the field tonight.
Cross sends it forward. Oaks will let it run. Goal kick for the Dash.
And just to confuse sports fans, the number 1 pick was not the Dashes, even though they were the expansion team. It belonged to the Washington Spirit, having finished last in the standings in 2013. Originally, the Dash were given the number 5 slot. I think Randy Waldrum and Brian Ching countered with the league saying, seriously? and a deal was reached. It was pretty clear the Spirit wanted Dunn. The Dash wanted Ohio, so they were okay to go 1-2 in the first round. All the subsequent rounds, Dash got the first pick.
Ohio coming to life here. Serves it in. The Spirit defense up to the task. Lori Lindsay, Becky Edwards in midfield, and Edwards wins the ball back for Houston. Engen navigates her way through some pressure. One touch as Edwards and Toulouse tried to hook up. Engen over the top. Masser taken down, and they're going to call a handball on Ella, I believe, much to her dismay. Of course, one of the reasons that the Dash had an interest in Kaylee High, aside from her obvious talents, but there's a tie here with the Houston Texans.
Right.
Her sister Megan married to Brian Cushing, the linebacker for the Texans, and they're both here tonight at BBVA Compass Stadium.
Yeah, and we didn't have to force Kaylee to say she really loves Houston. She was not lying or reading a card when she said that.
Yeah, you could tell she was very excited at the draft.
Yeah.
When her name was called, and
I can't imagine how she felt when she heard that there might even be a team in Houston.
Which all came together, to remind folks again, at the very last minute. So yeah, she's coming out of college. She probably didn't think that Houston was a realistic option for her next stop.
Right.
turned out to be the case.
And for most of these players, just happy to play pro soccer, to not only play pro soccer and be with the family.
Toulouse dancing through midfield. Ball over the top now. And Dash going to run out of space at the end line. Romero was hanging out on that right side, waiting for a ball. She had some space, but her Houston teammates couldn't find her. 70th minute here, a goal in the 62nd from Jodie Taylor. Her 7th of the year has Washington up 1-0. Devana, a silky touch, brings it down to Taylor. Singer, a bit more conservative in her runs here in the second half. Now gets in behind the Dash defense, but well offside for the right back out of UVA. Told you about July 4th. How about July 5th? Don't miss the Dash as they take on Western New York at 8 o'clock right here at BBVA Compass Stadium. Tickets on sale now. You can log on to houston-soccer.com today for all that information.
Now that's a team that the Dash hold the tiebreaker against with 2 wins. 2-1 at New York and 2-1 here.
Ohio momentarily in behind the defense, but she's whistled for offside. Kalia pleading her case.
But of course, with Western New York sitting on 20 points above the Dash, every point's going to be important, especially points that we can take away from teams above us, above the Dash.
Yeah, and the tiebreakers are well and fine, but you got to make up the ground first. And
you got to be in those top 4.
Right, that's really the concern for Randy Waldrum and company. We inch past the halfway mark of the NWSL campaign. Engen under pressure from Taylor. Can only clear it as far as Lori Lindsay. Great switch here to Matheson. Matheson atop the box on her right foot. Finds an angle, shoots. Was hoping to pick out the upper 90, but couldn't do so against Aaron McLeod. About 20 minutes to go here at BBVA Compass Stadium. Still plenty of time, but still plenty of work to do for Houston. As we said earlier, a tie, really not all that great for the Dash. They need all 3, especially at home, as Lindsay Elston approaches the 4th official and prepares to check into the match. McCarty. Back to Edwards. Edwards looking for Romero. Romero a bit higher up the field right now. She's moved to a momentarily more of a right midfield position. Now she'll drop to her more familiar right back spot. Engen and Krieger. 2 great defenders in their own right, and both very good at distributing out of the back. We've seen that throughout the game so far. A foul just on this side of midfield will set up nicely for a set-piece service into the Washington box. And the second sub of the game here for Randy Waldrum. Sorry, third and final sub of the game for Randy Waldrum. Tiffany McCarty off, Lindsay Elston on.
This is just the 4th match of the season for Elston. She sat out a while with that ankle injury. She's one of the few trialists that ended up making the squad. Wasn't drafted, wasn't part of the allocation or the expansion draft. Trialist.
Romero standing over it. Drives towards the penalty spot. Toulouse rises up, wins the header. And ooh, that was close. Beat Ashlyn Harris to it, but could not find the back of the net.
Keegan makes a nice run in, gets a good hop on that, just can't direct the ball towards the goal. If she had, there was no one there to protect that ball.
On the tail end of that replay, you see the expression of frustration from Toulouse. Great timing on the jump. And knew that a golden opportunity there to pull her side level went begging.
She did have a goal last week at Dallas in that off-week exhibition.
Devana now will chase this down. Does not manage to keep it in bounds. Goal kick dash. '75th minute. A quarter hour to play here. And I believe we just saw Mark Parsons giving some final instructions to Kirsten Garafrakis. Could be making her NWSL debut. Longtime German international. Longtime star for Frankfurt.
European champion, World Cup champion, Bundesliga champion, Women's Champions League champion. It's an impressive resume.
Nikki Cross looking for Dunn. Dunn in behind Romero, and this is trouble for the dash. Dunn, left-footed cross into the box. Engen clears it, but only to Taylor. Taylor with a chance to shoot. She drives it in. And Christine Nairn just couldn't get on the end of it. And if not for that, this game may well have been done and dusted there, as the dash forced now to push forward, exposed a bit at the back. Heavy legs as the Houston humidity wreaks havoc here at BBVA Compass Stadium. Ella Masser drops it to Kaylin Kyle. Engen all over the place, pushing up into midfield to win that ball. Becky Edwards tried to play it through one time to Kayleo High. Young forward unable to get on the end of it, and Ashlyn Harris will take her time putting this ball back in play. One touch play from the dash, but Dunn able to get it out of pressure. Dunn so young, 21 years old, already 8 caps for the U.S. That's not 8 caps for, you know, any small country. It is tough to break in the U.S. women's national team program at any position, and she's done it at such a young age.
And you know that's a big reason that Washington Spirit wanted to take her as #1, considering all their defensive woes last season. And I'd be really surprised if she's not a key part of that 2015 Women's World Cup campaign.
And here comes the sub for Washington. It'll be the aforementioned Garafrakis in for Lisa Devana, who has been very dangerous tonight. Bit of a slow start, but really came to life at the end of the first half. Had a great goal-scoring chance denied by Erin McLeod and the post in the 32nd minute, and she's involved in the counter that Jodie Taylor finishes in the 62nd minute to put Washington up. Elston under pressure. She'll lose the ball here.
Garfreck is already getting touches on the ball. I'm sure it helps that the uniform's all white, just like Germany. She feels at home.
Don't think it's this humid in Frankfurt. Elston turns into Huster, loses that battle. Rough opening minutes here for Elston. Singer with space, but with the lead, chooses not to take it, instead playing forward through Lori Lindsay. Lindsay, a two-time ACC Player of the Year at UVA.
Also a member of the 2011 Women's World Cup squad.
Garafrakis into the box, right-footed volley, and you see why she's so dangerous there. Needs only an inch, but Erin McLeod gets down to smother that opportunity for Washington.
Garafrakis is also going to be really dangerous on any set pieces, particularly corner. She's got such height on most of the players on the field. If they can loft a ball in, easy for her to head it past McLeod. But we've not seen a lot of corners this game for either team.
Romero to Masser. Masser wanted the give and go, but well cut out from Nikki Cross. Christine Nairn plays back through Huster. Washington content to be direct here with 10 minutes to play. Mentioned Lori Lindsay, two-time ACC Player of the Year. The only other player to do that?
Mia Hamm.
Not bad company. Elston tries to feed it through to Ohai. Huster now to Nairn. Nairn scored the game winner when these two met in late May, and it was spectacular. Taylor knocks it wide, had hoped for a run from Garafrakis. No such luck from the German international. 81st minute. Dash, need a goal and likely then some. The objective still 3 points here tonight for Houston. Romero unable to keep it in. Kyle to Elston. Goes back to Oakes. Singer clears. But the dash almost entirely on this side of midfield as they go in search of an equalizer. Oakes, pass off the mark, intercepted by Huster. Hanging here to regain possession for the dash. Romero now. Ohai and Dunn. Top overall pick versus second overall pick. And that may be one of the reasons that Dunn is in the game, to deal with Kalia's speed down this right flank. Ohai turns into the middle of the pitch. Nairn knocks it away. Foul called here, and the dash burn another possession on this side of midfield. And each and every time that happens, the Spirit are a little bit slower to put it in play. Engen, the header. Edwards to Ohai, who has some time, just for a brief second, finds Masser. Masser on her left foot. Singer all the way back, and Harris gonna clear. Kyle heads it, but Matheson will be first to it. The Ontario native plays it into Jody Taylor. Diggs and Taylor, a physical battle there. And Taylor whistled for the foul.
A win here is so important for both teams, especially considering Seattle Sky Blue are still tied 0-0 up in Seattle right now. The Dash still have a big chance to jump in the standings, and of course Washington Spirit need to get back into the game. With Portland losing to Kansas City, you still have a lot of teams in that middle zone at 19-20 points.
And those teams all have a realistic chance too, maybe if not catching Seattle, at least catching Kansas City.
Right.
Huster to Taylor. Taylor, the smart play, drops it back to Nairn. She'll spray it wide.
If there's anything you can say about league play, it's anyone can beat anyone on a given day. So for most of the teams, it's just get into the playoffs. It's less about which position, just get into the playoffs. We've seen the away team win.
Dunn trying to play out of the back. Edwards and Ohai combined to stop her. But Cross will pick out Garafrakis on the far side. Matheson now in a central role. Slips it to the German international. Garafrakis, service into the box. Taylor misses. And Kyle there to clear. As the Dash try and keep it at 1-0 for the time being. Although the clock working against Houston. 85th minute. Romero with some space. Masser approaching on the near side. Masser turns on Dunn. And Masser draws some contact for the young outside back. Good opportunity here for Houston.
Masser tries to turn. Taken down by Dunn.
See why some Spirit fans there might have been upset at the call. Didn't look to be that much contact, but again, at high speed, a little bit can throw you off. We've got a dangerous set piece here for Ari Romero, the Mexican international, driven into the box, headed away. Allie Krieger there. Here's Ohai. Her touch a bit long. Marissa Diggs will track this down. 86th minute. Dash need a goal. Elston, left-footed ball in, over the top, Masser there. The flag up, offsides. Wouldn't have mattered regardless. The first of 3 games this week for the Dash. And after a 14-day layoff, not the start you would want to a critical 7-day stretch for Houston. Dunn pushing forward. Had hoped to find Taylor, but Whitney Engen, but for a brief moment in the 62nd minute, has dominated that matchup tonight. Dunn and Nairn on the near sideline. Huster on the ball. Huster with some US U23 action. One of many Florida State products on these two rosters. Perhaps the Seminoles not quite as well represented as the Tar Heels, but lots of ACC flavor in the makeup of both of these two teams.
And speaking of Tar Heels, there's a lot of them on the field tonight that were on the team that defeated Randy Waldrum's Notre Dame twice in the NCAA final. I'm sure he knows those players very well.
Taylor into the corner here, trying to burn some clock. Does that and maintains possession for Washington in the 88th minute. Time running out for Houston. As we inch towards what would be a second consecutive loss for the Dash. That coming on the heels of a 3-match winning streak. Taylor working against Romero. She goes down a bit easy. Ball last touched by Dunn. And the Dash can inbound from deep in their own end. Romero, big throw. Ohai nods it on, but out of bounds. As the Dash struggling here to escape their half of midfield. Taylor with a nice turn on Diggs. And Taylor doing her job, getting the goal tonight, and now helping run out the clock and preserve this win for Washington. Ohai and Dunn battling. Huster to Garafrakis. Matheson trying to make something out of nothing there. Engen will clear, but unfortunately the Dash need possession here. Harris, calm ball out from under pressure. Cross pumps it forward. McLeod to Romero. But Dunn, so solid in defense. Unflappable. Diggs crashes into Taylor. And Nairn's switch here will almost run out of play.
That rode the line for a while.
I'll say. Garifrakis there to keep it in. Spirit doing a really good job killing off this game here. The Dash have not had many chances since Washington opened the scoring in the 62nd minute. The humidity certainly played into that. His tired legs have taken over in the last half hour. Dunn under pressure from Toulouse. 2 minutes of added time, the official signal from the fourth referee. Nairn wanted Dunn on the give and go. So perhaps time for one last chance here for Houston. Romero crushes it forward. Edwards trying to find Ohai. The Dash have been on the wrong end of some late minute magic so far this season. Perhaps soccer karma will pay its way back to the Dash. Although not at this pace. Washington very slow to put this back in play, despite the encouragement from Margaret Domka, the center ref. Nairn plays it over the top. Offsides on Jody Taylor. And McLeod rushing this ball forward. We're now in the 2nd minute of stoppage time. Only 2 were added. That means a minimum of 2. Romero chasing this ball down, and she'll have some company. Diana Matheson. McLeod, one last chance for Houston. Into Masser. Masser nods it on. Ohai in the neighborhood. Becky Edwards. Garifrakis now, and this might do it. She'll knock it forward. Engen intervenes. Elston and Taylor. Elston turns. Domka looks down at her watch. And this ball will roll all the way down into the corner for a Washington throw-in. Garifrakis with the clear. And that'll do it from BBVA Compass Stadium on a night that will test the conditioning of both of these teams. The Washington Spirit come out on top. 1-0 the final from BBVA Compass Stadium as the Dash fall to the Washington Spirit here on CSN.
As a BBVA Compass customer, you have the chance to show your true colors every time you open your wallet.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Presenting Dynamo Banking, featuring debit and credit card options that can help you reach your goals. Open your account today at any of our 80 locations in Houston or online at bbvacompass.com/dynamo. Team works in soccer and in banking.
Making isotopes that can detect Alzheimer's before any symptoms occur. That's the difference between practicing medicine and leading it. Houston Methodist, leading medicine.
Deep in midfield, it slipped into Clark, trying to line up his left. There it is from Will.
Who's done just about anything else. Give it away, Brad Davis, and we are level.
after every game. Watch Dynamo pre- and post-game live, only on Comcast Sportsnet.
Learn soccer the Dynamo way and start your path to the pros. The Houston Dynamo offer youth programs for every age and skill level, from a challenging introduction to soccer to intensive competition training and opportunities to play for the Dynamo Academy.
This is Ricardo Clark of the Houston Dynamo. The Dynamo youth programs offer the professional environment required to develop your game and prepare you for success.
To find out more or to register for Dynamo youth programs, visit HoustonDynamo.com.
The final score from BBVA Compass Stadium, the Washington Spirit won, the Houston -0, as Houston drops their second straight game. That following a 3-match winning streak for Randy Walderman Company. Sebastian Salazar, Jen Cooper. Here from our broadcast location, Jen, a tough result for the Houston Dash. A game effort, but in the end, just not enough, especially over that last half hour when they really needed an equalizer.
Right, and as we talked about in pregame, every game is different in this league. Sure, Washington Spirit had given up 10 in their previous 3, but they had some key players missing. They've started to introduce some new players like Lisa Devanna tonight, Kirsten Garfrekis' NWSL debut, and having Ashlyn Harris back in goal. She was out those last 3 when they allowed 10. Huge difference for the Spirit tonight.
Yeah, she certainly made a difference, especially in the first half when the Dash looked to be maybe the team more likely to open the scoring here at BBVA Compass Stadium. Let's check out the second half highlights after the first 45. It was 0-0. Then in the 55th minute, Kaylee O'Hai getting involved. Nice cutback. She knocks it across the box, and Tiffany McCarty nearly sneaks it in at the near post. Here's the goal. Jody Taylor. A classy chip in the 62nd minute. Her 7th goal of the year, on fire, as she puts the Spirit up 1-0. And from there, really, the Dash only with a few chances. Perhaps this the best in the 74th minute. Kika Toulouse rises up for the header off the Ari Romero free kick. Beats Ashlyn Harris to it. But the final score, 1-0. This is the first of 3 games this week, Jen, for the Dash. So still plenty more opportunities to maybe get some of those points that they need to get back in this postseason race.
Right, they're still not out of it. It's a very tight table, other than Seattle way at the top. Last we looked, Seattle and Sky Blue were tied 0-0 in the 90th minute at Seattle. So we can't make the leap over Sky Blue. They get another point, but Seattle keep moving up. That helps everybody. Washington Spirit, however, with the win tonight, jumped from 6th to 3rd. The jumping over Portland, Chicago, and Western New York Flash.
It gives you an idea just how jam-packed tight, other than Seattle, the NWSL standings really are. All right, that'll do it for us. Up next for the Dash, it's a Wednesday game in New Jersey against Sky Blue FC. They'll be back here in Houston on Saturday, taking on the Western New York Flash. Thanks for watching here tonight on CSN. I'm Sebastian Salazar for Jen Cooper. We'll see you on Saturday here at BBVA Compass Stadium.